Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast. My name is Scott. I'll be your host today. This is on location take 2 of the day. We're doing 2 podcasts in one day. And so we had Ramon Burmo come on. I'm hoping everything worked out all right. And now, pretty much, I guess this is going to be a very unique podcast. This is, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my old friend, Vin Russo. Welcome to the podcast, Vin Dog.
Thank you.
Now, I say unique podcast because I think that you are actually the first person I've had on the Ordinary Marathoner podcast that doesn't run.
Only when chased.
So why would I have you on my show? Like what?
Because we've been friends for 30 years.
Has it been that long?
And I'm awesome. Should we go back to day one?
Let's go back to day one. We have to start this. I think we have to start.
I'm a little nervous now. I thought I'd be more comfortable in front of the camera. I do want to break all records, so I'm hoping that this podcast, I don't know, is it going to go on YouTube?
It should.
It
should. As long as it works.
All right. So I want to break records for views. I know you have your marathoning audience that regularly listens. So so here's what happened. So I was born in the Bronx. We're not really going to go from birth through every day, but I think around, was it 8th grade?
It was, yes, 8th grade.
8th grade. So I was raised in Westchester County, northern Westchester County, and Scott's family, he was born and raised in Long Island up until about 8th grade.
Right. So we were like 13?
We were 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the first part of 8th grade.
Yeah.
So your dad,
that's where we're going
did your dad get transferred or what did he
they just moved. My mom wanted to move. She wanted to leave Long Island and her family was from upstate New York. So this was kind of like her getting a little closer to her family. And I think she kind of wanted out of Long Island too.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it's a straight island. There's only one way in and one way out, so lots of traffic.
It's a very long island.
All right, I got to get loose here. I got my Michelob Ultra. So Scott was a new student, and they needed someone to show him around. There was a new girl student who I don't remember, and a new male student, which was you. And so they had Amy. Are we going to mention names here on the podcast? Let's just say a girl named Amy was the straight A female student that showed around the female. And would they even do that nowadays? Now they might mix it.
I don't know.
Now it would be sexist to have a female with the female and the male with the male. Would that even?
But if you put a male with the female, then
is
it
that
might
wrong?
Be like hashtag Me Too issues, and
we're getting in trouble
we just
already.
Don't know. You just don't know what to do anymore.
So they wanted someone to show Scott around, so they chose me. I guess I had good grades. Right. I was the guy that gave the apple to the teacher.
Not surprising.
So that's where it all started. So we just had similar interests: football, baseball. I knew nothing about basketball and hockey. Scott really actually introduced me to that.
Well, we got into the Knicks for a few years there. The Knicks were very good.
We did, but you were into them first, and
right.
then you're like, oh, the Knicks are on. I remember because it was wintertime when the Giants were done and Giants and Jets were done, there was no baseball, and so you'd come over, we'd play Nintendo, but on MSG, we'd queue up the Knicks.
Right. And Patrick Ewing, it was the Pat Riley years, right?
No, it was before Pat Riley. It was the Rick Pitino years.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, they were getting better. They were. I think they won 50. They had 50 wins with him in like 88, 89. And I can't believe, yes, I remember that. I'm not even looking it up.
Well, that's one thing about Vin that you guys don't know is like he remembers every small statistic and fact.
Dates, times, anything that doesn't make me money, I can remember. If it makes me money, I don't remember it.
Useful information, he'll forget. It's not that useful.
You got it. So Scott was a jock, you know. I considered myself one too. I mean, we both love baseball and football, but and I had played Little League baseball and football, as did Scott. So that's kind of, we just played Nintendo, watched sports.
Nintendo, yeah.
And then
a lot of Nintendo.
You never got to play football because I
played in high school. I moved in the middle of the year.
You
so
moved
I
in like
missed football
November,
season.
so you missed Little League football. So the first, and this is all going to lead into where I started my exercise lifestyle, quote unquote.
Right, and really, I think that's kind of part of the backdrop story that we're gonna hit here. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm going to weave this in nicely. So
Good.
So Scott's competitive, and I'm competitive, and so baseball was going to be like that first season where we're both going to play and kind of see how we do. And now I'm trying to remember. That was freshman year. I think you played for the JV.
I played for the JV, but we
As a
played
freshman?
against each other in town ball.
We did.
You were on the Warriors, and I was on the Vikings.
Yep. And I think the only at bat I had against Scott, I
don't remember.
I remember I remember the first one. I remember the first one. I walked.
All right.
And I think I walked on four pitches. When I got up to the plate,
I was probably trying to hit you.
Let it breathe, Vin. Let it breathe. Let him. Yeah, no, exactly. But I was lefty. I'm a lefty batter at bat left, and no one cares about this. But I'm a lefty batter, and he was throwing right, and I walked, and then I think I had a sacrifice bunt, either off of you or off of another pitcher that came in. But so that's kind of where it started. So the deal with me is that I had a late growth spurt. So all my buddies, are we naming names again?
You can name
Charlie, Harry, Wyatt, all those guys kind of got bigger way earlier on. And that worked for them for football, baseball. It really helps out. And it sounds like I'm making excuses now, but
it's all right.
I don't know, dude. Of course Scott wouldn't believe me, but I swear to God, I could hit. I could hit in the previous seasons of Little League. I could hit, and I was pretty good as a running back in Little League. I've even got the videotapes to prove it, literally, because there was a guy that had a video camera store and set that whole thing up. So I've got the runs on tape that I can show you. Scott missed all that. Anyway, it became competitive. But you know what? Scott was bigger, stronger. Probably faster. I don't know if he was faster, but he was just a good athlete. We would go into my backyard, and my dad would throw us balls. I don't know if you remember this. My dad would throw the football up, and he'd throw it to both of us, and we'd go up and compete for it. And you were out jumping me, always getting the ball and everything. So Scott did really well. Why am I putting myself down here? Where am I going?
Well, you're trying to set a bottom.
Yeah,
so that we can lift you up.
And it's going to tie in exercise. So
I think your frame of mind though in this period, and I think it's funny because especially when I think you're talking about guys as friends growing up, it's like a tough image that you try to uphold or whatever. And you were skinny,
yeah, and short,
and the thing is,
short,
but it also this isn't. It's kind of something that you don't express. So it's not like as your friend. We probably joke about it. We probably rip on you about it. And it probably bothered you more than you would ever tell us.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean,
by the way, I charge $125 an hour.
I've always been kind of a psychotic dude. Here's the deal. In football, man, you need some weight. You need some height. It really helps. And like Burns now, what is he, 6'2.5"? But I think he was close to that.
He was
very
a big dude. Yeah.
Earlier on.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: in freshman year, the wrestling coach was all over me to recruit me. Not because I was some stud athlete. Why? Because I was 90 pounds. I'm pretty sure I was a legit 90 pounds at 14 years old in freshman year. And these guys were well over 100. I don't know.
Freshman year, yeah.
150,
130, 140.
Yeah.
Wyatt and Charlie probably more.
And they were linemen. They had been more. So that's a huge difference. Also, if this is a marathon podcast, let's tie in some other things. And I love my parents, love them to death, but I'm gonna steer it down a certain direction. My mom kind of gave me everything I wanted, which was great. And then it could be bad because in terms of diet and nutrition, mine was awful. If I wanted Doritos, I had Doritos. If I wanted Pepsi, I had Pepsi. I would mainline Pepsi. There were no rules in terms of you have to eat this amount of vegetables, drink this amount of water, this amount of milk. So I didn't. So I didn't drink milk. So I don't think I got that good calcium bone development. I seriously believe this. I could be wrong. I could be just crazy. We used to buy, I talk about this with Harry because Harry's family was the same way. The 2-liter bottle of Pepsi? I don't know if you remember this. They used to sell a 3-liter bottle of Pepsi.
Oh, yeah. I remember the 3-liter.
My mom, we had the damn 3-liter bottle of Pepsi. So all that caffeine, leaching calcium, drinking no milk, not eating vegetables. You got a skinny, scrawny little kid. Again, every single girl in ninth grade, wow, I got mental hang-ups here, was bigger than me. Every girl was taller than me. Now, you're not going to get a date for Friday night when the girl's taller. It's over. It's over. If she's taller than you, it's over. Which wasn't a big deal because we didn't have dates anyway. Even the guys that were taller and bigger than me, we had Nintendo was our date for the weekend.
Metroid.
Zelda. So where am I going with this? So I guess, okay, so here's the deal.
This all leads to your psychosis somehow. And the bottoming out. Because somewhere around here...
Start gaining confidence.
Right. Can we start playing the music? The rocket theme or something? Right,
I should get the Spotify here. Maybe I will get the Spotify.
You can't do that because I'm not allowed to do it on the YouTube video.
Oh, right. Yeah, piracy. Copyright.
Damn piracy.
All right, so
you can sing it yourself if you'd like.
Long story short, Scott is a stud. He plays varsity baseball as a 10th grader or a 9th grader? No, 10th. JV is a 9th.
Yeah, varsity is 10th.
Right. Yeah. So Scott and Harry were like really good at sports. They won county awards.
Yeah,
sectional awards. They had a good team. They went pretty far in sectional in your junior and
senior year. We won our league, and then we went to sectionals. And both times in sectionals, I think we lost in the finals. Maybe junior year we lost in semis. I can't really remember. I was trying to remember this. It's funny you mentioned this because I was like trying to remember this today.
And Scott and Harry were like the ace pitchers. I think Harry had better stats than you, but you guys were the studs for senior year, definitely.
Harry was like 8-0.
Right.
With like a 2 ERA. And I was like 6-3, but my ERA was like 0.5 something.
Right.
It was the best in the section.
That's awesome.
But Harry won more
And when
awards.
you didn't pitch, you played third.
Yeah.
And when Harry didn't pitch, what did he do?
Didn't pitch.
He didn't play. He didn't play.
Yeah, he didn't play. He didn't.
Yeah, he was kind of so tall that like you can't put him in the infield.
He could have played first. He was relatively athletic. Sorry, Harry.
Yeah, you know what? For a guy that had good coordination on the mound and no coordination off the mound, I just killed Harry. I'm sorry, that's not true. You were a college athlete.
Like 9th and 10th grade, Harry could hit, and all of a sudden it just I don't know if he didn't want to play the field anymore or what. It just was like he was just like,
we got to rest our horse.
Yeah, you know what?
Give him his 3 days rest, whatever. What did he get? 3 days rest?
I don't know.
It wasn't like that because Nate would play his best pitchers for whatever game.
Yeah, he played third base a little bit in summer league. I remember one year he played third base in summer league. But yeah, he just all of a sudden he just was like he gave up on hitting.
All right. So back to psychosis of Vin.
Yeah. That's our main topic.
So I do 2 seasons of baseball, freshman and sophomore year, and I do 1 season of football freshman year. Which we both
played a little
the same
sophomore.
team.
No, did you play a little?
No. And sophomore, I passed out, or not passed out.
Well, you also, you chose to work.
That's correct.
And that's kind of, I don't know if people still have these decisions to make, but I remember it being like a big decision for all of us at the time. It's like you either play sports or you work, and it's like if you don't work, like none of our parents were wealthy. It wasn't like money was not gonna appear. I mean. I worked summer jobs, and I went to school with like less than $1,000 in my pocket as spending money for the whole year. I mean, you think about that now. I mean, $1,000 for a year to spend. It's not. I mean, you got to find every $5 to get in, or whatever, penny draft night or whatever.
The thing is, like. I regret it, and then I don't because I saved a lot of money in junior and senior. I started.
That's what I'm saying. Is there's a huge difference.
Yeah, I started working after a month after I turned 16. I turned 16 on July 19th. By August 20th, my mom had me a job as a waiter, which my friends would also make fun of this. I was a waiter in a retirement home. Now, it was a retirement home, but it was really almost like a nursing home.
Do you have any pies?
It's, one of the residents would.
Sorry, we have these jokes that you guys will never guess.
They're inside jokes, yeah. So I did a 4:30 to 7:30 after school shift, which was perfect. I thought I was a baller because I made like $7 an hour, which I thought was an insane amount of money. I worked Monday through Friday at that job after school, perfect. And then Saturday and Sunday, I worked in a real restaurant as a busboy with my father. So that was off the books. The retirement was on the books. Between that, man, these guys were playing sports, but I was rolling in dough. Originally, I wanted to buy a car. That was my first goal. But then I got $1,000 and I said, well, let me get a nicer car. I got $2,000. Let me get a nicer car. $3,000. let's see where this goes.
Let's get a Russian bride.
So
sorry, I'm going to be arrested.
So all my boys, all my friends, my closest friends were the jocks, and they were playing football and baseball, and I was missing it. And it still kills me to this day that I miss spending time with them, and I miss the cool parties and everything like that. But I kind of very immature of me, I kind of cut them off because I was basically jealous. Wow,
Do we talk about
this
the
is
event?
really getting psychological.
Do we talk about the event?
Sure. They think that they thought. Here's what they did, which was really funny. They broke into my house when my parents weren't there.
You were there.
But they did it while I was there. So what did they do? They pulled up slowly. They must have shut the engine off or something.
We cased the house. We walked through.
They were throwing rocks at my bedroom window or tapping on it. And then they eventually went out to the front, and the door was open, and they just opened up the front door in our living room in the front. And I thought there was someone breaking in.
This is actually very dangerous when you think about it.
Yeah. What if I had a gun or something?
You could have stabbed us.
I did. I grabbed a knife. This is the funnier part.
Which is the normal reaction, actually.
This podcast is going to break records. I grabbed the butcher knife, and I was like, I heard rumbling. I literally heard and they did a great job.
Well, you knew that there was people there.
I knew there was people there, but I guess I just never thought
we were
it was
just
my
standing in
friends.
your living room, we're like, I can't believe we're in a living room.
Well, I don't know
Who
to
left
this
the door
day
open?
how you guys didn't bust out laughing.
I think that's probably what you heard.
I guess maybe that's why I never considered to be my friends, because I'm like, there's no way they could be silent for that long. They were. I'm in the kitchen.
You know, probably. I bet for you, it felt like a longer time.
Probably
For us, we were probably just sitting there like, what do we do next? I can't believe we're in the living room.
We're gonna have to do a part 2 and part 3 of these podcasts. We're gonna go over time. So long story short, they get in the kitchen. And I've got the knife, and they just start laughing. They almost fell over each other into my kitchen laughing hysterically, because they got away with it. They got me. They got me good. And I remember you guys went into my bedroom to try to start playing Nintendo.
You were too mad.
And then I was pissed, and I took the Nintendo and I ripped it out of the wall as they were playing it. And I remember them going, I guess we're not playing it. Oh, no, what's he doing? He's resetting the game. No, he's not resetting the game. He's pulling it out. And I pulled the fuck. Can we curse on this? And I don't want to get flagged, but I pulled that console out. And so I think that they thought I didn't talk to them for 2 years. I know this sounds psycho now, but they thought it was about that. And it really wasn't just that. It wasn't really that. It was just I was jealous that I missed all the parties, all the football parties with the upperclassmen. Missed that stuff. Do I regret it? No, because I made good money. I saved all of my money. Right. I had no expenses because my parents paid for everything, for my food, everything. So I got so much money, over 10 grand in 2 years, that I was like, I can pay for my school. So that's what I did. So between that and summer jobs in college, I literally put myself through school, took out loans, and I, 10 years later paid off all the loans. Now this is turning into the Vin Dog is the greatest podcast.
Let's go back to, so when would you say you had this whole sort of skinny complex? When did that bottom out? When did you go?
When I quit football. When I quit football.
Okay, so let me ask you this though. Because I would assume that a guy who is sort of has a problem with being skinny,
short. Don't just
short
say
and skinny.
Short. You guys towering over me. And by the way, to this day, guys, I did have the late growth spurt. I'm taller than Scott
so
now
you did grow
by an inch and a half.
So you did
I'm 5'10" and a half.
And maybe you sort of bulked out
a
a
little bit. Wow, I sound insecure
naturally.
saying that.
But when was the first day you stepped in the gym?
In a real legitimate gym.
Right. When was the day you said, you know what? I'm done being skinny guy, and let's try this out. Because it seems to. Did you have any? I mean, did you have any sort of? Was there a barrier? Was there a mental barrier to doing that?
I was afraid to go to a public gym. I wouldn't. I was petrified. And I to this day I sympathize with anyone who's overweight or grossly underweight that is afraid to actually go out in public. I get that because I remember, and I'm going to name names here, but I won't use the last names. Our friends Russell, Matt, Tim, Keith, Phil. Those guys all started going to the club in Montrose, New York after school. Now, those were the guys, they weren't playing sports. Keith and, Phil wrestled and Russell wrestled, but off season
but
and
some
spring.
Of these guys Keith and Phil got big.
Yeah. And I would hear them talking about this, the club. What is that? What is that? And I realized it was a gym. And then I heard them talk about benching and stuff and weights and everything. And that perked my interest, especially with Keith, because Keith was skinny like me. He was taller, but he was always skinny. And around junior year, he bulked up pretty good. And senior year too. I mean, it took time, but he got big. And Phil I think he had gym equipment in his house.
He did. He had a big universal thing set up.
But Phil was a wrestler, so.
Right. Makes sense.
So when I got sick of being skinny was when I quit football, and I said, because I was getting tossed. Like I was getting, I don't know if you remember this, but like.
I actually do.
The other thing about Scott, like, football can be a brutal game if you can't handle it. Like Scott had some weight on him and athleticism, so when he was getting tackled, he wasn't feeling it. But in practice, man, I was getting pounded. And I was getting laughed at. I remember like Wyatt and Charlie would like certain places,
they're ruthless.
They would be ruthless, and they'd laugh, you know. I remember I was trying to tackle this kid Tom, and I was like hanging onto his shoelaces, and he was pulling me, he was dragging me, and he was laughing as he was doing it. So these were all these incidents where it's like, you know, I did have an ego before that. When I was in Little League, I was still little, but I was good. Yeah. But then that gap of when you guys developed physically, I was like, you know, I don't want to keep getting embarrassed like this. And I feel like I was a quitter, but I was like, what?
So let me ask you this. I mean, I think you kind of said this before, but is there like a
turning point or
like a regret that you didn't play junior and senior year?
Big time. Because now I look at it and I go, you know what, dude? I kind of internalize and I go, you didn't practice. Like, not go to practice. I mean practice outside of practice.
Yeah,
you didn't
lift.
Practice.
Right.
Well, we effed around and threw the ball. We threw football.
Me and Harry talk about this all the time.
Right. And my friends here, Scott and Harry, who were great athletes for high school and even a little bit of college, they didn't practice either, like outside of practice.
And there were times, one of the things I talk, and we'll tie this into running a little bit. One of the things I talk about every once in a while on the podcast is like, we used to go down and run a mile at the track. And so we'd run a mile, and then we would walk to the pizza place and have 2 slices and a Pepsi. And those two things do not offset. But in our minds, there was no science, there was no internet, there was no way to know. We got out of the house and we did something, and then we took a treat afterwards.
I didn't even know what the word carbohydrate was. I didn't know the word protein or fat. I think I'd heard of calories, but it meant nothing to me because we could pretty much eat a lot at a young age with that metabolism, and you know, we're okay.
Right, you'd be okay. It just, you know, we would run a mile and think that I remember specifically saying, like, oh, I bet the guys that play for wherever, our rivals, you know, I bet they're not doing this. I bet they're, you know, because a mile was a distance that was intimidating for us at that time.
4 laps around the track.
Yep. It was intimidating. So you felt accomplished when you finished, and it hurt when it did it. Like when you did it, it wasn't easy to do. And when I look back now and I see I'm 45 years old. I ran 5 miles 4 hours ago. I could never do that. In high school. And isn't that strange? That's when I should be able to do it.
Right.
You know,
and it's crazy.
But I think it's a combination of the time, just the time when we grew up. No internet, there's no point of reference. And you're talking about,
if you want information, you're going to the card catalog, and what's that going to have?
Yeah, or Border, right? Was it Borders, the bookstore?
I don't even think that existed. Barnes & Noble didn't exist.
Right.
I mean, we're dating ourselves. This is late 80s, early 90s.
But there was no place to go to learn how and I think even worse was the coaches who are very well intentioned, and you know, you got to give it to them for spending their time with the players, but there was no guidance.
Right.
There was no guidance.
Right.
It was running was a punishment, which was fine, and I get it.
We thought this will get us in shape. Let's talk about the weight room. There was one, but it wasn't a weight room. There were no free weights, to my recollection. There was one called Universal Machine. So it had a
bench press.
But did anyone use it? I don't think anyone used it. Do you need another beer, by the way? I can say that. Well, can I say that?
Let's let's pause it real quick, and we'll come right back. All right.
So we left off. Well, Scott, you're the host. We left off at the Universal Machine.
Right.
Like, it was a little tiny room.
By the way,
I love that sound.
This is
I'm going to do it again.
I haven't seen Vinny. So Vinny, we've been friends for, like you said, 30 years.
Love that.
I haven't seen you in how long? It's been a while.
Wait, how old? 30? Yeah, we made it. 30 years. Holy crap.
Yeah, 19.
Going
yeah.
on 31. 30 and a half.
And
It's a long time.
yeah, but we what do you call it? When's the last time I saw you? Was it Game of Thrones? No, it was.
Well, no one cares, but when did we see each other?
I don't remember.
It might have been the 2017 Game of Thrones season.
finale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Which is summer 17.
that's a shame.
When was your wedding?
2 years,
After
a year
that?
and a half ago.
It's 2017?
Yeah.
All right,
August
so if that was after... No, it was all the same weekend. What, didn't we go to Game of Thrones the same weekend?
Not the same weekend of the wedding.
All right.
No,
All
it was
right.
after that. It was whatever.
All right, let's move on. All right, so...
Yeah.
So Scott and Harry and the rest of the football players thought that like running a mile was getting in shape. Like no one lifted weights, no one knew about diet or nutrition, and that was it. It was kind of you go to class, right, and you go to practice, and then you play the game. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but I guess we just know a lot more now.
Right, and I think for Harry and myself in particular, we had, and this is off topic, but it is something I want to talk about in the future on the podcast. Was like, I think that we both thought that there was potentially a career for us in baseball. I think we both were intention and wanted to work hard. I just think we thought we were working hard. And when we look back, probably weren't.
Right.
Probably weren't. And whether that's our own fault, partially, a little naive, or lack of guidance, I think it's kind of a mixture of both. That's another whole story. But again, you had none of this. Like you didn't have
information.
Well, the motivation the information, but also like you weren't playing football anymore. You weren't playing baseball anymore. It was
you need money and time, actually, right? I mean, your dad would have to set up a net in the backyard, and you should be working a tee and a net, and you should be swinging every day. You're swinging that bat.
Agree.
How are you going to get better? I mean, why do we think that? Why are there these professional athletes that come from Florida and Arizona and California? Because the weather's warm and they play every day.
Year round.
How could you get better if you're not playing every day?
Yeah. So let's get back to your neurosis.
Yeah. So these dudes are just naturally big without working out because I hate them. And then Phil and Keith, they're lifting, and I it was impressive. I'm like, these dudes, they got good physiques. And I like the way that looks. And I'm like, dude, I want to chase that, dude. I don't want to be a skinny runt, Like I was starting to get a little taller end of junior year and senior year, and I think I even still grew my freshman year of college. But I was like, I got to throw in some weight. So my turning point, again, we talked about being afraid to go to the gym, right?
Yep.
I
think that relates. That theme relates to a lot of people.
Yeah,
and a lot of people that probably listen to the podcast is
people are
it's taking that first step. It's like a fear.
Exactly. The way you'd be afraid to go to your prom or something, or a dance, or ask a girl out. I'm going to go to an outside gym where there's adults and like muscle heads and
you never been there. You don't know what you're doing. What do I do? I'm going to look like a fool.
Yeah.
This is what people think.
So what happened is for Christmas of my senior year of high school, I asked for a weight bench. I asked Santa Claus for a weight bench, and Santa Claus got me a weight bench.
Wow.
Otherwise called my mom and dad. So I had enough room in my bedroom. Remember, it was probably right in front of the door where we used to put the Nerf basketball.
Well, the funny part is that we weren't talking then because you were still angry about us breaking into your house. So right. I never saw the bench in your room.
Yeah, see that? You're exactly right. He's telling exactly the truth. And what's funny is 3 or 4 years before that, there was no bench there, and we had the Nerf basketball in the back of the door.
I do remember that.
Remember we played tackle Nerf, tackle basketball? You could literally, any rules, you could kill the guy. He just has to try to get the ball in the net, but you could do whatever you want. Anyway, so like December 91, I get the weight bench, right? But it's one of those little toy weight benches. Like it's a legit weight bench, but it's not the bench you see in a real gym that's wider and has a wider base. So I kind of hear the numbers that my students, my fellow students, my colleagues, they're doing, Phil and Keith, I bench this, I bench that. So I start putting on weight. And sooner or later, like January, February, I remember my friend Tim, he's like, hey, you working out? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I can tell. So my biceps, I started to get, from bone biceps, there's a little bit of muscle there. And people started noticing, And so that's kind of where it
kind of like
jumped
fueled
off.
the fire.
I'm adding weight. And I remember, I don't know how much you weighed graduation, but I know that my graduation weight was 146 pounds.
Yeah. I think I was like 165, 170.
Oh, really?
170. Okay. I was light, and then I gained a lot.
Then you gained, yeah. So that I had probably, I don't know the numbers on it, but I had put on some weight just from doing that alone. So then I'm still too afraid to go to a gym, right? But the first public gym I went to was at college at SUNY Oswego. They had a fitness center, big fitness center. All the students would go there. So that's kind of terrifying at first.
Yeah.
So I forget the numbers now, but I think I got up to like a point where I could bench press maybe 200 pounds on my little toy bench at home. Now the toy bench was like, it was a narrower grip and it was completely different. So when I got to the bench, and this isn't that exciting, so I'm going to try to move it along. But when I got to that real bench at SUNY Oswego, September of 92 or August, whatever it was, I couldn't do 200 pounds because it's a completely different
angle.
Yeah, everything. Like the bar itself weighed 45 pounds, which was more than the bar I had at home. So I was doing like, I don't know, 95 pounds, 100 pounds just to get used to the motion and the range. From there, though, I started building up. So I think every year I gained like 10 pounds. By end of freshman year, I was 155. End of sophomore year, I was 165. End of junior year, I was 175.
And this is a real muscle, for the most part, muscle weight.
Yeah. And I had the benefit of having been a skinny guy. So it was ripped weight. It was good weight.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll be honest, because I know a lot of people lie and say, I want to work out for my health. BS. You want to work out because you want to look good, right? Let's all tell the truth here. Guys and girls, nobody wants to look, quote unquote, bad. They want to either lose weight, they want to gain weight, they want to be, and for me, I really want to be attractive to the opposite sex. You know, and I'm throwing it out there.
Might as well just be truthful.
And the muscles did that for me, and it gave me confidence. It gave me, because you can't make yourself taller, but you can make yourself bigger. And I just kind of, I guess that's where I started turning obnoxious.
Well, that was. I think I know the point when you turned obnoxious.
Well, I'm gonna hold on. The godfather of exercises I had not discovered. So like an idiot. Yeah. So for 4 years of college, I'm benching and curling and doing all this upper body stuff and maybe some leg extensions and some hamstring curls, but I'm not squatting. We had like a weird squat platform that no one used. It had dust on it. This is back in the day where squatting and deadlifting really wasn't universal knowledge to anyone but powerlifters and bodybuilders. Right. Everyone in that gym, and this is early to mid 90s, they didn't squat. I swear to God, you'd see randomly some guys squat, but it was like a foreign thing. It was a legion of benchers, okay?
Well, everyone had skinny legs and big.
They kind of did. I mean, some guys had, like, guys like you and Wyatt and Charlie and Harry had big legs to begin with. So you didn't really need to build your legs. But if you were a skinny guy, you really need to build your legs. And so think about it this way. When they do construction, when they build a house, right, they don't start with the roof, right? They start with the foundation. Well, when I finally discovered squats was in my second semester of my senior year from this guy, Tom, that I worked out with. Tom was 5'9", 265 pounds.
That's big.
He's one of the strongest guys I ever met. Everybody thought he was on steroids. I never saw it. I don't think that he was. But he showed me how to squat. And I started squatting from February on. And
you've squatted ever since.
It's a great exercise. It uses every muscle in your body, man. You're holding that bar with your arms and shoulders and back. Your core is engaged. Yeah. Your glutes, your hamstrings, everything, calves. You're using everything you can to dip down and get back up, And now it's freaking ubiquitous. I mean, now you go on Instagram, everyone is doing it. I mean, maybe they figured out my interests, so that everything I see is a video of someone squatting, but damn, if I had, I want to curse so badly, but if we had discovered, I mean, if you guys had discovered, if I had known that exercise in freshman year, I could have,
Yeah.
I think there was also a thing, Scott, and I'm taking this over, so please jump in. Fine. There was a thought, I remember, of stunting your growth. You didn't want to lift weights because it would stunt your growth.
There was the stunting the growth, and I think that was especially true, like when you're just kind of entering high school, because you're supposed to kind of go through those change and actually our friend Phil, who you mentioned before, a big dude, started lifting probably 9th grade. He didn't grow much, right?
No. And
he's not short.
He's 5'7".
Oh, maybe.
No, he's a little short. Sorry, Phil. But
sorry.
It's true.
Yeah, we love you, bro. What was that?
I don't know. Was that our time?
I don't know.
Oh, it's your
that's
camera.
the camera.
We
Camera's
losing
running out of
video?
batteries. That's right. Don't worry about it.
I'll wave bye to the camera. He's 5'7" to this day, I'm pretty sure.
So who knows? Maybe there was something to
and
it.
he
But
lifted weights early, so that's kind of why it stayed away from
I know
it.
for baseball was always thought that bulking up would make you less sort of fluid.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you
baseball
couldn't
is
swing.
technique.
It didn't bother Barry Bonds as much, I guess.
See, I think with McGuire was kind of the first one, or Canseco, where it was like, okay, as long as you can maintain that form of your swing and the speed, as long as it's not hindering the speed, your bat speed, then bulk up all you want. And then you got into the steroid craze. I mean, we could go off here.
Right. We should stick with the. So all right,
Like, when did you even bench or squat, Scott? Like, not till
College.
Siena? Yeah.
college, and I remember going there, and I remember going in to live with the baseball team. And I remember one guy in particular was a freshman, and watching him bench press and going, "Oh my god!" Like,
I'm not strong.
yeah, like
Like, I always thought I was, and now I think I'm not.
yeah. It's like I've always felt like I was, stronger than most people. And then you get there and you're looking at someone who's been benching for 2-3 years, and you're like, wait a minute, and you're talking about like. I mean, I always talk about 135, like as sort of like if I don't lift for a year, throw on 135, 245 plates on the bar.
Yep.
And that's the start. And I didn't lift for a year, and I started lifting 2 weeks ago, and I think I put up 135 8 times.
Right.
You can laugh. It's okay. I'll take it.
What, you saying you maxed out at 8 and then you were done?
And I just, what it was? I'm by myself, and it's kind of like my first set in a long time, and I'm like, you know what?
Well, it's a different animal. The practice makes perfect, right? If you don't do it, you lose
Right.
it.
And then, 2 weeks after, I'm doing 3 sets of 10.
It's an outside alarm, guys.
It's Jersey City.
Yeah. Let's drink while it
It
plays.
might be is it an indoor alarm?
I think it's outside. I hope it is. If it's a fire alarm, we're not leaving. So
Yeah,
we're just going to burn.
This will go down. This will be the best podcast ever.
Are you kidding me? I got a funny story while we're rolling. It sounds like Great.
What'd they say?
There's been a fire report on our floor. You know what? Unless someone comes to kick us out of the room, let's keep rolling because I don't believe it. You know what always happens? Somebody burns toast in their toaster and the whole building has to go out.
There is a kitchen right out here.
Yeah. Do you smell smoke? This is making for a great podcast.
It's literally a fire. We could die on this fire.
All right, I'm going to tell a funny story. At my previous job, I trained software, right? My first ever software training. This is my professional job, right? Oh man, this announcement's killing me.
What are they saying? They're saying we got to get out of here?
Yeah, but they've said that when I've been in my apartment. I've never left. In fact, if I could pull that curtain, I would. But so I have to train a university, Virginia Commonwealth University. It's an online training. This was our client.
Yep.
Freaking fire drill during my first training. So I've got the go-to meeting set up. I'm speaking.
Yeah.
Little did I know, the fire drill assembled by my desk. One of the designated areas, all these workers came in front of my desk area in the corner.
So you thought they were all there to watch the presentation?
Dude, I couldn't catch a break then. I can't catch a break now. My first podcast with Scott on Ordinary Marathoner, and now we have a fire drill. Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break. We'll come back when the sirens are over. So we're back from the fire drill. The sirens just went off.
A couple people died, but that's okay.
Right. We were just luckily you've been lifting and you used the axe and you got that baby out.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If I was the skinny runt from 9th grade, that never would have happened.
Well, where were we? I mean,
we're talking about. I think.
So we were talking about baseball when I went and I saw
you saw
guys
the dude's
lifting.
bench in Siena. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I'm not what I thought I was.
So you realize you realize quickly how much work you've actually put in. I think.
And where you are
Sort of
compared to the other guys on the team. Where am I fitting in? How many years of baseball am I going to do before you switch to football? And then when you realize, okay, and then after college, this isn't going anywhere. Like, that's a tough one, right?
And it's kind of weird. So we went different directions, I think, I graduated college and I saw no reason other than to stay fit, which didn't really motivate me enough, inspire me enough to get me.
To you, I feel like it's got to be a game. I feel like you're always used to like a game where you're competing for something or trying to win or trying to be like your stats, like you talked about your ERA in senior year.
Right. There's something to that. There's definitely something to that. And
I think for a long time you were. I don't want to say you were lost because you weren't. You were doing what you wanted to do, which I think was just having fun, like hanging out with us.
I had spurts of going to the gym. I had we had multiple gym. We had a Gold's gym.
Well, it's not your. You've never been interested in lifting weights. Like it's just not your thing. Like I don't like.
I'll do it if it's but no, it's not.
There's no score to it that unless you're trying to like.
There's times where I've been like, where I got into lifting. Well, geez, we had a bench press competition.
We did, and you know what? I'm not blowing smoke here. I actually looked. I dusted off my notebook and I looked at it. You maxed out at 255 for one rep, which for a guy that doesn't bench at all, that's awesome.
That's not bad.
That's insane. There's some crazy stat where less than 5% of
people
can bench their own body weight.
Yeah, right.
You're right. I think I did 295 or even 300. And then I looked at it, I'm like, that's way too close. We were way too close. That didn't make me feel good.
I was lifting a lot. Okay. So I would go to lunch 3 times a week. At lunch, I would go to the weight room for an hour.
Okay.
And I would bench and I would do.
Now that makes sense.
Well, I mean, and I think that's why we had the competition was because I had been lifting and and you knew I was lifting and
Scott was going to come to my place and I think maybe for Game of Thrones or something. I don't know why you were coming. But maybe I think that was the week
before then. I think
we also went to a Met game. I think City Field.
Right. So that was I think that was before the Game of Thrones thing. Maybe it was right around the same time.
Well, we were watching Game of Thrones for a long time, like viewing, co-viewing.
So we probably
with the ladies. So wait, we're getting off. Okay, so.
What?
I mean, right now where you're at. I mean, well, your listeners know where you're at. I mean, you're training all the time,
and I am, and I'm doing a lot of training.
Oh, are you kidding me? We're gonna have to hit the pause button again. The alarm that had stopped has now started.
Once it goes off, it's gonna be. Oh, it stopped.
The alarm just went off. They're messing with us now.
They're like, we're going to screw with the podcast.
So for people that listen to Ordinary Marathon that are friends with me that have never listened to Ordinary Marathoner, Scott does marathons. He's completed marathons. He's completed. Why don't I let you? Ironman.
Yeah, I mean they know.
And well, I'm thinking my friends who are going to be listening for the first time.
Oh yeah.
So that's his training, and I get it because I feel like you're a competitive person, and you can now clearly define and mark your personal bests, what other people are doing. Yeah. There's times to all that stuff. So I feel like that's right up your alley. Whereas, just lifting weights, you're like, oh, what am I going to bench now? Like,
it's like I'm doing this for my health. That's not enough.
I'm going to out everybody like I did before. Like well, there are some people that maybe have health problems and they are working out for their health. So bravo. But a lot of people are shallow like me. They just want to look good. But okay, so let's go back
to you because you're my guest here today.
That's right.
And the story that we're going to tell
cover where I turn obnoxious.
So yes, there's a point here where you've gone from good athlete as a child to changing your leaving sports and just kind of working and forgetting about it to all of a sudden changing your lifestyle, and you had the bench and you started lifting that, and then you started going to the gym. And then I guess there's a point where all of a sudden there has to be a realization like this gym thing is working. And you kind of mentioned it before where you started getting comments, and that's certainly key. I mean, I've had that too. When I lost weight, people, when the Dunkin' Donuts lady is like, wow, you lost a lot of weight. You're like,
Feels great.
Yeah, it feels awesome.
And it's people that normally that they're legitimately telling you that's the truth. Like they're not blowing smoke.
They've noticed
it's just the Dunkin' Donuts barista. She's like, it's awesome. It's awesome. I would get compliments from guys, and the guy that meant just as much to me because they don't.
Why would they?
Trouble here and stereotype guys,
I got you.
We don't. Hey, nice thighs, Jim. Like we don't. You're not usually going to get that, but I was having, guy friends that would, hey man, you look good, dude. Like throw it in there, and these are the same guys that will bust the crap. Oh, right. I don't want to curse.
Well,
bust your chops,
and to that degree, and I don't see. I'm wondering what came first. Did we start, let's say, busting your chops first, or did you become obnoxious first?
Oh, you busted my chops first.
That was just I
But
mean, I guess the proof of that is just that we broke into your house when you.
Listen, when I started the second semester of senior year of college, when I started working with that guy Tom, and I watched him eat, and he never missed a breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? Which actually that's kind of normal, but me, I would sleep late. I'd have afternoon classes. I'd always miss breakfast. But this dude, he would have his 3 square meals, and they were solid meals. He would drink milk, he would drink water, no soda. He would have chicken, vegetables, and that's where I started learning how to eat. So I started eating. So I was like 175 in spring break of my senior year. By August of that same year, so March 1996 to August 2006, I went from 175 to 212. Now, people think, oh my, what did you do? What happened? I just ate. I ate. So when I graduated in May, I had already been eating a lot, right? Now I had my mom as my personal chef, and I didn't have a job yet. I was preparing for an interview at ESPN for the whole summer. So I had saved money, so I didn't really have to work. I had no expenses other than us going out night drinking. I was eating from the time I got up to the time I went to bed, constantly. Everything, chicken, fish, whatever I wanted was being cooked for me and prepared for me.
So this is so you've gone off the Doritos now, because before you were saying that it was
well, yes, junk food.
It was
and
Doritos
no more
and Pepsi
soda.
before.
There was no more Pepsi. It was all water and milk, and we had the Brita filter. I was drinking water, and you can gain a lot of weight. Now, it wasn't all good weight. It was a lot of fat. Again, at this point, I still don't know what protein is or a carbohydrate or fat. I don't even know what they are. I don't know what calories are. I have no idea how much calories I'm taking in. No idea. I just know that I am eating all the time. I remember when we would go out drinking, say from 9 to 11, right? I think you guys had already gotten jobs at that point, like career jobs, I think, in the summer of that year after graduation or eventually.
Yeah.
I would get hungry during that 2 hours that we were just drinking because I wasn't eating. So as soon as I'd get home, I would voraciously eat. So what did I learn from that? I learned that you cannot build big muscle mass without eating. You just have to. I remember our friend Harry, he told me that his friend Steve, who was an offensive lineman at Fordham, he would eat 4 rotisserie chickens in a day. Okay. McDonald's to him was an in-between meal snack. That's the kind of mass that
now,
this
was
guy.
He fat?
Steve, you met Steve at Harry's bachelor party in Montreal. Big, tall dude, like at least 6'3", and he was over 300 pounds, gigantic legs and arms.
Strong.
Oh, yeah. He tried out for the Giants, actually.
Wow.
Didn't make it, but he tried out. Yeah. I think he might have made their practice squad, but he was trying for a career as a lineman. The moral of the story is, guys, for anyone that's listening, I know a lot of you are marathoners that don't want to add weight, and I get that. I get why, the functionality of it, the way you need to be. That's great, and you're still strong. But if you want to put on mass, you got to eat. Now, when I put on mass, it worked. Glutes, calves, quads, chest.
And we have the pictures to prove
I wasn't doing this for any competition. I just wanted to look good, you know? Now, these guys were comfortable and secure in their body types. They didn't care. Like, they just want to party and go to work. Like, they weren't like trying to be anything, but I was trying to be this muscle man, you know? I was fascinated with muscularity, you know, like looking jacked. I like Keith. Keith was the prototype. Keith, still to this day, our friend Keith has the best bodybuilding genetics of anyone I ever met.
And he was skinny.
I brought rubber band, the lifting bands, the resistance bands when I went to visit him in Florida. We went to a Florida State game. And we were pumping up before we went out. Well, I was, and I gave it to him. That's how shallow I am. Before we went to this game, I pumped up. He took it and he did one curl, a couple curls of that band. His bicep went from like nothing to like, it looked like it was pumped air in it. The dude has great genetics. So he was an inspiration to me. He actually was the first guy to show me how to squat. He lasts to this day, but I did squats with him in freshman year of college during the winter break at Elite Body and Peak Skill.
Right.
Okay. I had never done a squat. He showed me how to do it, right? The next day, I couldn't go number 2 in the bathroom because I couldn't
get down.
I couldn't squat backwards. I had to hold on to the window and my legs were trembling, like violently trembling. He laughs just as hard when I tell him that story. But so the lesson for any youngsters listening that do want to gain mass and want to be bigger for performance for sports, eat your butt off and train hard and you'll get there. It may be a lot of fat weight, but it'll be muscle weight too. Another guy, this guy Ian, it was my roommate, 135 pounds, no percent body fat, the cleanest eater I've ever met. ironically, he told me when he was in college he was fat. What did he tell me? Oh, that you cannot build muscle without gaining fat. It has to go hand in hand. You have to have enough. You have to gain body weight, fat, to support muscle growth. So that's why the bodybuilders, right? And I don't want to tune everybody out here. Well, I'll get off this subject quick. What do the bodybuilders do in the off season when they're training for competition? They get fat. So you wouldn't even recognize them off season. They're mass building with fat. Now, what happens when they start approaching that contest 3 months out?
They suck it out. They suck out, yeah. You know what's funny is, so like Stephanie did a bikini contest.
Stephanie is Scott's wife, but actually the regular listeners know that.
So she did a bikini contest, and she had a specific diet she had to follow. And when she got close to competition day, the last 2 or 3 weeks were 5 meals a day, something like 2 or 3 ounces of fish and asparagus. And that was it. And so that's what you're eating for 3 weeks.
Yep.
Just that.
Protein and vegetables.
And very small amounts. And then so you suck all that extra water weight, all that extra, it gets sucked out.
They deplete the water levels.
Yeah.
Just like the fighters when they cut weight before the weigh-in.
Right. Well, right. Those guys, they cut 10, 15 pounds, like just by going to the sauna.
Yep. Yeah, water manipulation. Scott and I have talked about this a lot, like because I watch the UFC and, say they have to make 170, which is welterweight.
Probably like 185.
Right, exactly. So the weigh-in is the day before the fight. By the next day, they're not fighting at 170 anymore. They're like 185. So
that's crazy.
But I know for Scott, it's this whole ordinary marathoner has been great for him in all seriousness because I know that he has adopted a lifestyle that clearly makes him happy.
as I drink beer.
You got to have a balance. This is for
me and you. We haven't seen each other in a long time.
We can't be together without beer. I mean, we could, but it's just not as fun. But for me, lifting weights gave me confidence. It made me look better. Like my friends may not like it, my guy friends, because I'm obnoxious and then maybe I'm an ass. Oh, I can't.
That's right.
I can't curse.
You can, but
maybe I started gaining confidence with girls. Now, instead of not talking to a girl at a bar, I was very comfortable talking to girls, especially with a little alcohol in me, very comfortable like approaching people and talking to people. And all of a sudden, like this fear was gone. And now like I'm making relationships.
That's going to die.
The camera's dying. That was the beep.
That's because we talked too long.
So what's the point? Even beyond girls, even beyond the aesthetic, the pump. I know Arnold Schwarzenegger in the bodybuilding movie that he made in like the late 70s documentary, like he talks about that feeling of the pump you get, like the blood flowing. I got my AirPods in, plug for Apple like they need it. I got the AirPods in, I'm blasting music. I'm resistance training, moving lightweight, medium weight, heavy weight, whatever it is, whatever the style of work it is, whether it's high reps or low reps that day. It just makes me feel alive. It's like my sport. So the way that we enjoyed, say, Nintendo when we were kids, or the way people enjoy playing basketball, I just love it. Like you get that pump, and I feel in the zone. So I mean, Scott can maybe talk about that when he gets a runner's high. I don't get the runner's high because I don't run, but I definitely get the lifting high.
Yeah, no, you definitely, I think everyone has their own. It depends on your life, what stage of life you're in, what where your focus is. It's too many factors, I think, to put into it. But what is your goal? Like, what is your end goal? Like for me, I think part of it is you've never done a marathon. It's something that you accomplish. It's something that you can attain. That you can all once
no one can take it away from you.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe you have like you bench 300 pounds. You bench 350 probably.
Yep. I think I did. I think 350. No, 335. I think that was my max, 335.
But you have that number in your mind. You know what I mean? So it's like something that you've done.
315 with fives on each side is 320. 325.
Yes.
Yeah, and with tens on each side is 335.
And little midgets hanging.
So I did 330. For me, it was 335. For Scott, it was it more the marathon or was it more the Ironman?
The Ironman's probably more. Well, definitely more. But
I got to tell you guys, when Scott, I know you, the regular listeners know that he did the Ironman. When he told me about that, I said, "Oh my God!" I'm like, I thought to myself, I don't think he can do that. Like that's ridiculous. He's not going to be able to do that. I'm like. That I honestly, maybe it's offensive. I was thinking that's insane. He's going insane now. How could you do an Ironman? But you know what? Now he's not only done one, but he's done multiple, and it's not
2. Yeah, and I didn't finish last year, so now
Oh, you didn't?
No, I started, finished the swim, and I did half the bike, and I just couldn't do it.
You know what? That's the ode
But
to.
I gained
and
weight,
your friend
you know?
Ramon was
We were
talking about
talking
it.
about it.
Practice makes perfect. Like you probably weren't training as hard.
I wasn't. I gained a lot of weight, and
Because you felt like I've already done this.
yeah, right.
I can do it again. And then you get in there and you realize,
There's a lot of work to do it the first time, and I didn't do the work the second time.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, that's where I want to hit on it. I don't know how we are on time, but like
good.
it's that feeling of, and this is going to sound corny, so if my friends are listening to this, they're going to roll their eyes, but it's, you know what, man? There's a lot of things in life where we could take the shortcut. We could, especially like maybe a project at work or something, or a class project when you were a student.
If your parents like worked in Full House, that show, and then got you into college.
Exactly.
Or Johnny Manziel's wife, who said she ran a half marathon in like record pace, but turned out she just cut the course and she didn't actually finish.
Right.
I don't know if you saw that.
I wasn't even talking about that extreme. I was just talking about like maybe going to your office job and not giving the best effort you could give, right? Or you figured out how to get a good mark on a test without giving maximum effort. You know your intelligence level and the idea of like the subject matter that you know that you could probably pass easily without working too hard, right? To me, what I'm trying to get at is there's honesty in that workout room, in that gym room.
Same thing with marathoning.
Yep. There's no hiding. There's no lying. There's no bribing somebody. I mean, I guess you could, but the problem is you know yourself, whether you're telling yourself the truth or you're lying to yourself. There's honesty, man, in that weight room, and I love the honesty. It's you do, and the end result to me is how you physically look. For me, for bodybuilding, right? How you look reflects the work that you did, and when you don't do that work, which I've not done, right, many times, you start to look crappier and crappier and crappier. Your stomach gets a little bigger. Your muscles atrophy. They will naturally atrophy and get smaller if you don't use them. So, man, it is all about that moment of like, this is something that if I think about it enough, I could start, getting teary-eyed because there are those nights where you go in there, and maybe for you when you're running, where you're like, I am giving my maximum effort here. I can't work any harder than I am working at this moment right now. And I know that that's going to lead somewhere. And to me, man, what else is there? What else is there than just you yourself, you versus you? What can you do?
No, I totally agree. Got your whole thing. Now, there's also sort of like fluctuations that you go through. Now, I remember, I want to say about a year ago, you had put on some weight and you were like, you know what? Screw this. I want to eat what I want to eat and I'm never going to work out again. And
I remember texting you guys that. I'm like, I'm done. It's over.
And then here I am here. Like, I get here and the he's got a size large shirt and it's coming down to like his knees and he's skinny as hell again. Not skinny, but you've lost the fat that you had.
To give the viewers perspective, I was up to I got as high as 218, and right now I'm at 185.
But you got to put work in to lose that much weight.
Yep.
You're not.
Yeah. For me, it's a little weird because I can just not
right?
eat bread and pasta.
You just take that out.
Yeah.
But you're still.
We also have to have the wrong side of 40 discussion. When you get on the wrong side of 40, so for my younger listeners here that are listening that I asked to listen and they don't, they haven't experienced it, so good for you. Man, when you were in your 20s and 30s, you were bulletproof. God, I was bulletproof. I mean, even if I did get a little minor injury, the recovery time was so fast that I didn't notice it. Now, wrong side of 40, Scott could talk to us better for running. Man, you get a little injury, 2 weeks. I mean, it could be a long time and you have to work around it. You have to get creative and say, okay, I can't squat, so now what else can I do that would engage my legs that isn't squatting,
We get that a lot with injuries, especially like when you run. Running's in terms of a sport, it's very impactful on your legs, your knees, especially as you age, your knees, if you weigh a little bit more, there's more pressure, I guess, on the knees. And so there's always alternatives. So if you can't run, there's the elliptical, there's the bike, you can go swimming.
And that's the key. What he said, Scott. Scott said alternatives. The thing is, there's something you can find that you can do while you're injured. You can always work around that injury. And I sound like a guru now. I'm not. Well, no, I'm giving myself way too much. I didn't mean that cocky.
You've been doing this for 20 years now. 25.
If we go from 19,
24, 20 something.
91. I can't even do the math now anymore. 20, 20, 28.
Yeah.
If we want to count December 91, it's over 27 years that I've been at least benching.
Right. And
and never stopped. I have never stopped for an extended period of time.
One of the few people that remember what you used to look like, what you used to, and it's funny. Like one of the things that I laugh at is, I think the three of us, between me, you, and our friend Harry, is that we've been friends for so long. It's just like we don't always, and I hate to start doing it now. Like we don't always give you credit.
Well, friends can't give each other credit. Not the
Well, and one of the funny things is like so.
When someone's ego is inflated, you can't give them credit. That's going to get inflated even.
But so like you ride your bike to the gym often, or used to?
Well, I used to until I discovered my fiance's
Car.
very nice car.
And that parking is free after 9.
And the parking's free after 9 in Hoboken. So it's like, why was I riding that bike? But you know what? Let's talk about that. Grit. Let's just say grit was why I was riding that bike.
But the funny thing is like we were talking about it, and we used to make fun of you.
Absolutely. I mean, a 40-something-year-old riding a bicycle, or at that time a 30-something-year-old.
As your one of your best friends, I feel like it was my duty to bring you down.
It's like, shouldn't you own an automobile, dude? Like,
well, I gotta tell it. Like, so yeah. Well,
bicycles are for children. Meanwhile, this guy owns a very expensive bicycle. I won't say how much expensive, but like twice more expensive than mine.
But like
things have changed.
But the thing is it's almost. I mean, you were riding your bike, to whatever, a town over to go to the gym.
2.5 miles.
In 30-degree weather and snow or whatever, sometimes you almost get hit by a car, which.
Well, that was a fantasy football thing where I was out of my mind. That's a whole separate podcast.
Yeah, that's a different one. But I mean, the funny thing is when you decided, but when you decided to give up the bike,
yeah,
I think a part of me died inside.
See, now you're going to challenge me to go back. It's only been about 2.5 months since I've been using the car, not the bike.
But I there's something about like getting on the bike and going to the gym and riding the bike home.
Oh, it's grit, dude. It's grit. When it gets to 35 degrees and then below that, I mean, it's almost like the ultra marathon runner.
Right, there you go. It's like you're triathlon.
I don't want to insult you guys.
Bike,
the
you lift
psychosis, like, yeah. Gosh. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice bike.
So I was kind of sad.
Bike rides are a lot better when the weather's beautiful.
But I was kind of sad that you kind of let up on the bike ride, because as much as we used to make fun of you for it, it's kind of impressive.
Yeah, especially when one day the light rail was under construction and wasn't running, and Marianne, my fiance, had her car, and I had no way to get there. I guess I could have Ubered, but I was like, you know what? I'll get on the damn bike. This was a couple of weeks ago, and I got on that bike, and I forgot how hard it is. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Did I get used to an automobile? Let me get Scott a beer while he talks.
Was it the cold, or was it what got you? It was just actual riding.
Actual riding more so than the cold.
Interesting.
I was like, wow.
So where do you go from here? Like we've talked about this before.
That is so Scott, by the way. And I admire that about him. I'm not blowing smoke. He is objective, goal driven. He likes to set. No, that's great. That's how you succeed in his career and everything. Like, you set a goal, and then you're like, and then his always idea is like, where am I going after this? Like, I know that about you.
Well, you know what's interesting, and this is like actually you said,
you don't like idle time, which is great. I mean, you do enjoy recreational time, but like, you are. And people respect that about you. But go ahead.
It's a topic unto itself, but we're going to hit this topic because I'm going to turn off I got to reset the camera real quick, and we'll come right back.
Yeah.
All right. So, where were we? We're talking about.
Right now, I'm going to crack a beer. If you can hear this, I'm tapping it so it doesn't explode from my.
We could be here all night.
My Playmate.
As long as I have battery left. So here's the thing. I like to get I have these creative ideas. So let me see. After college, I did the band. Right, I learned how to play guitar. I never played guitar before.
That was impressive too, dude. I still, there's a bunch of you, Wyatt and Harry can all play instruments, and I just never took the time to learn an instrument. So I think you guys all all play guitar, all three
Yeah.
of you.
Even
I mean,
Harry's
these aren't the
pretty
guys
good.
that were
Harry-
in. They weren't in your band.
No.
These are the other bandmates. But
yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun. We had a blast with that. But I learned how to play guitar on my own, and now I don't. I haven't played in years.
again, he sets the goal and then he achieves it. So while I was lifting weights, he was learning.
And then running is the same thing. But we did some things together where we kind of, I guess, cooperated. I guess I don't know. What do you want?
We don't have time for the sports website. That would be we'll get upset about that one, but it's
but we'll just mention it. Like
we had a sports website,
a blog back in
the blogging age, but we were kind of on the cutting edge. I feel like
I would say it's like 2002, 2003. You would know because you remember all Idle Facts.
Oh, it was 2002. It was 2002.
So we started in 2002, and we did it for like 3 or 4 years.
I think it might have been like June of 2002. We started.
It was a sunny day.
How about this?
You jumped on your bike.
People still talk about this. We had the should we give the name?
Go ahead.
Instead of Wide World of Sports, it was Wide Word of Sports, which
My
was
friend
thought
Peter
of
Bach
by
thought of that, yeah.
Peter thought of that, and remember we did the beer count.
Right, and the top every
the
time we would
homepage?
drink a beer, we'd keep count on the website, which was probably
We each got up to like 1,000 beers at some point.
we had the site open for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would compete. It was a competition.
Yeah.
And it was
the drunken baseball preview.
In reality, we got drunk and we wrote about every team.
we did a preseason baseball preview, maybe for the 03 season. And what we would do is we would just drink from the first team review to the, I did the American League or National League and he did the other league.
We both did the same team. And what we'd do is we'd write a review for the team and we'd have a time limit. So we'd have 10 minutes to do team A. And we started at the worst team and we went up to the best team.
I can't believe I don't remember, but I know that we covered every team.
I remember sitting.
And we spent at least 4 hours.
Actually, your apartment in Hoboken, I think.
Yeah. No, Jersey City.
Jersey City.
Yeah.
There we go. This town.
And
but we did like fun things on this website, and and that got shut down. That kind of got closed on us. That was my fault.
This is his job. All right, we're going to lose them here, but wait, why did we?
Goals. But we also did the podcast. We had a podcast together for a little while, about 6 months, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. It was too much work.
Yeah. So go back to guitar and goals and achieving stuff. And where do we go? Where do we go?
All I was going to say, I was trying to tie into was that I probably wouldn't have this podcast if it wasn't for the podcast that we did.
Yeah.
Before this podcast.
By the way, we're hard workers. By the way, hard workers in career and personal life. Like, I don't want us to sound lazy that we just gave up. We didn't. No. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Right. If you're going to have a sports website or if you're going to have a podcast, you've got to commit to the idea that you're not going to get a lot of sleep because you've got your regular job and then you've got, your career, whatever it is, or maybe it's not a career job, maybe it's just a job. And then you've got this passion project. So if you have a passion project and you have recreational activities and you have a wife and you have children,
it's not easy. And you got to train.
Allocating your time and fighting for time is probably a big part of the battle.
Well, it's we talk about like routine and trying to find a routine that you can kind of set yourself into. So
how about your 5 o'clock in the morning routine?
5 o'clock. Got to get up at 5 o'clock, 5:30, whatever it is, and then.
And you swim?
Well, first I podcast, and lately now that I'm home, I just I podcast, I do the video, and then I figure it out. Bike, swim, run, whatever it is.
Right.
I don't do them all and every day. It's just I try to swim twice a week. I try to bike 4 or 5 times and run probably 3 or 4 times, and then try to get a couple lifting sessions. And lately, I've been kicking around the idea of yoga. You have any yoga insight?
I do. I could give a plug to a guy who doesn't need a plug, but I purchased the DDPY program in December. His name is Diamond Dallas Page. He was a wrestler for WCW in like the late 90s.
Now he's a yogi?
He's a yogi. He had been working on this, I guess, for 20 years. He was roommates with Stone Cold Steve Austin when they're in the business. At one point they were in the same company. Anyway, that's not important. Stone Cold says I saw him late at night writing out this program on paper. It was in the works for years and years and years, and it was all about recovery. So like recovering from injuries, and he had this idea for a yoga program, and apparently everyone doing it loves it, gives rave reviews. It's kind of like his first tagline was, "It ain't your mama's yoga," you know,
Right, that
to
makes
try
sense.
to try to
that-
convince people that would never be caught dead doing yoga,
Right.
say a Hell's Angel biker, to try this out, you know, people that have been injured. So long story short, I bought it in December. Now,
You got hooked.
I got to be honest.
You fell for the "it's not your mama's yoga."
Well, no, I fell for having back issues and saying I got to try something, you know, because Chris Jericho, very famous podcaster, former wrestler, they told him he needed back surgery. He started doing DDPY, and he feels great. He doesn't need surgery. So when I've used it, I like it. I just haven't given it.
It's hard to get into that do it every day kind of routine.
And you have to do that. You have to do that.
You have to get into the, you can't.
He's got a workout that I've been doing this week called bed flex. So it's literally this is exercise for people who are like overweight or, severely recovering from something, surgery, whatever, just
like inhibited with your movement, right.
Inactive their whole life or sedentary. So I started doing those exercises. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'll try it. Like, I need the basics. And it's a lot of stretching and stuff. And I like it. It made my back feel better. So I just have to get there, I just have to carve out that time beyond the time lifting at the gym.
Right.
To do it.
And I got it. So like for me, like I'm stiff. There's no flexibility.
I think that's why you'd want to do it now.
Right. And I agree, because I think what happens to me is I do these long races and I get like my joints, like kind of like the tendons kind of near my joints, the muscles near my joints, like my knees, it's just everything kind of just tightens up really like fast. It's like I go from being able to run to not being able to run and like hardly being able to walk for like, it takes a good couple miles to shake that out. It's happened to me a couple times and I feel like it's flexibility issue.
Yeah, I got to tell you, the first time I did yoga was with Marianne with her trainer. Her name is Joe. And I got to say, well, no offense to Joe, it's expensive because, personal trainers. I'm sure her rate is competitive with other personal trainers, but like for an hour of her time, it's basically for an hour of her time is what I pay DDPY for the whole year.
It's a luxury.
Yeah. But the benefit is this girl, Joe, is watching your form. So she's literally grabbing your back and your butt and your legs and correcting you and saying, no, do this, do that. Yeah. And she's watching you. Long story short, felt great. When I finished it, I felt awesome. So for you, anyone, I recommend.
Yeah, and actually, I've done a few like beginner ones.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. But you're right. When you're done with it, you're like, oh, I remember thinking
loose and limber.
I remember thinking like, I'm glad I did this, and I should be doing this more often. And then I don't do it.
It's just it's like how you have to just find that time. You got to create that time. I know.
And you know what? And most people do. I mean, people say, "Oh, I don't have the time." Well,
you do.
Did you watch This Is Us last week? You could have, Yep. Stephanie watches it all the time.
Yep. Did you go to a restaurant?
Right. Did you? What did you mean? Come on. Could you not find 20 minutes to do yoga?
Did you get trapped in social media for an hour?
Oh, that's the worst.
Are we getting off topic of exercise? Because I could go to social media. This is, by the way, I told them when we stopped recording, we've paused several times that this is
we had the fire alarm.
We had the fire alarm. We had our bladders.
We ran out of batteries.
Our bladders. We were drinking a lot. I told them this is our Joe Rogan, Alex Jones podcast where this is like 4 or 5 hours. I mean, it's not going to be that long.
I think they had like 10 million views.
Yeah, that's why Joe is driving a Porsche.
Yeah. Nissan Rogue.
He had Nick DiPola on there, huh?
Huh? Nissan Rogue. I said I got a Nissan Rogue.
I heard Rogue, and I was like, what is that? I didn't know that there was a Rogue. Yeah, don't put yourself down. You'll get there. When you get the views, The
Porsche will come. Yeah,
so Rogan apparently has a studio. Well, I know he has a studio, but adjacent to it is his own gym. He's got a gigantic gym and a Porsche, which I know because he had Nick DiPaolo on, the comedian.
Yeah.
And they're both from Boston. They know each other a long time. And Nick was busting his chops about that.
About the Porsche.
You got the Porsche in the gym.
He's got the Porsche in the gym?
He probably could. Joe literally does TRT. Does everyone know what that? I'm talking like you guys can respond back. Do you know what TRT is?
Is that a drug? Like a
testosterone replacement therapy. So this is the thing now. We have a friend, I'm like I mentioned his name, that does it. You go to doctors, you find doctors that will legally prescribe it, and they're injecting you weekly or bi-weekly, I think it's weekly, with testosterone for older men. I'm not going to judge.
You got to draw a line somewhere.
I don't like needles. I that's where I draw the line. Like, you know what? I accept old age. Let me age gracefully.
Yeah, I got. You know what? We're wearing hats for reasons, folks.
If you watch Fear, I'm going to cut a promo on Rogan. If you watch Fear Factor from like 2000 or whatever it was on, and you look at his head, his head
is gigantic.
I know that dude is taking HGH. I know it because I think what it does, it doesn't make you taller because you've already grown.
He's got the headphones; they like come way out.
His cranium is gigantic. This is going off the rails. We're many beers in.
Remember the Gary Busey helmet protector?
Well, we're alienating probably the younger people. I'm going to ask. Gary Busey got into a motorcycle accident in the late 80s, maybe early 90s, I think late 80s. And the skit on SNL was the Gary Busey helmet protector.
And then there's the protector.
Protector. It just kept becoming a bigger helmet. So in high school, on Monday morning, we rehashed every skit from Saturday Night Live that previous Saturday.
That's when it used to be good.
Yeah, when they're amazing.
Kind of gone off the rails.
Dude, they had a murderer's row.
It was
Dana Carvey, Phil Hartman,
those
Kevin
guys,
Nealon.
I think today, when they talk old Saturday Night Live, they still talk about Steve Martin, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Eddie Murphy. Right. It's just they still talk about those as the golden years.
Skipped that late 80s kind
of. Yeah, you're right.
Dennis Miller on the week.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kevin Nealon, Dana Carvey. Like I feel like those guys, for as famous as they are, I still don't think they have their due.
They don't. Dana Carvey doesn't. No way. I mean, he does, but he doesn't. By the people who know, he does, but he's awesome.
It's sad, and I don't even know who's on anymore.
And then it turned into Farley, Adam Sandler. There was that era.
Well, I got to tell you,
Rob Schneider.
When Will Ferrell got there,
is that where we tapped out?
I never thought he was funny.
Harry said the same thing, and I still bust Harry's chops all the time. I'm like, oh, you're the guy that said Will Ferrell isn't funny. Right, because he had the cheerleader skit, and then that was it. The
cheerleader skit was horrible.
Right.
That's still not funny.
Oh my God, the perfect cheer.
And didn't he he was like on the organ or on the keyboard?
I'm thinking, not Church Lady, that was Dana Carvey, but yeah.
There was somewhere there was his wife was the singer and he was on the keyboard. And
yes.
That wasn't funny either. And I'm like, this guy's terrible.
Yeah.
And now he's like one of the funniest guys ever. He's just.
Like he would do remember Cisco was the thong song?
Yes. Oh, they would do it like.
So Will Ferrell, should I do it?
Go ahead.
The dress she's wearing is scandalous. Another can't handle this.
Oh my God!
I think it was Anna Gasteyer was the other teacher.
And I don't know, those skits were terrible. I thought those skits were awful. And what was that other guy? Mongo.
Mongo? Who's Mongo?
Who did Mongo?
I don't remember that.
The guy was Roxbury, Night at the Roxbury, the other guy.
Oh, Chris Kattan.
I hated him.
Night at the Roxbury.
Yeah.
Or they would try to ask how to go.
Just something. I don't know. Some people. I don't know. Maybe I think when you get older too. Like I remember watching my first Siskel and Ebert kind of show, where they'd be critics, and they would review a movie that I just saw, and they would tear it to shreds. And I was like,
movies.
And I'd be like, oh, I like that movie. Like what?
Yeah.
Oh, and they would attack it artistically and whatever, and maybe it made sense to them. When you're a kid, you're like, oh, it was a movie.
Right.
What do you mean Police Academy sucked?
Right.
It was awesome.
Right. I think Adam Carolla has a great analogy
I think when you get older, it's like your taste change, and all of a sudden you get a little. I don't know if it's a bitterness or I don't know. What was the?
Adam Carolla says, did the movie accomplish what it was supposed to accomplish? Right? Police Academy wasn't trying to win an Oscar.
$30 million? Yes.
Police Academy wasn't going for an Oscar; they were going for cheap laughs, and they accomplished it.
Right, and I think when we were growing,
we don't need artistic merit for it.
Right. It just, I think when you get older too, we're 45 years old.
I think I know where you're going.
We're watching this and we're going. Everyone on this screen makes way more money than me.
That's the thing that's ruining me for everything. And that's all I can think about now.
And this sucks. I can make better stuff than this in my basement, and this guy's making tons of money.
Thinking about the money. Yeah. I do the same thing.
And it's awful.
Right.
And I'm not entertained, and you can become more cynical or more. Right. It's whatever that is.
I mean, I guess you're worth what you can get, but that still doesn't make me feel better. I'm like, you're not talented.
And and I hate to say it because you might take it the wrong way. Any Medea movie, I just don't get it.
I've never even tried. I've never even tried.
I don't get it.
I don't. I mean,
I can go other ways.
We know
with
what
that.
the
It's not
niche
just
audience
that,
is,
but it's like
the people love it. I mean, he's successful. The guy is a mogul,
right?
I mean, he's not trying to win an Academy Award.
I watch Amy Schumer do comedy, and I don't laugh.
Yeah,
I have not laughed at one of her jokes.
I don't think I have either. When she was unknown, I was impressed when she did a roast on Comedy Central for whoever it was. Right. I was impressed. I didn't laugh, but I thought she did a great job.
Dane Cook, that's another one. Dane Cook, I never
his popularity was the internet.
Huge, but he used to do comedy shows like all the time. And I remember I think they were on HBO. Like it was like almost a weekly thing or a monthly thing. He was all over the place. And I remember thinking to myself, like, imagine trying to write this stuff. Like trying to come up with new like George Carlin would write a special every year.
You can't compare his writing to
well, that's the thing.
Else's.
And this guy's trying to kick out comedy like something fresh every month or every couple weeks or whatever it was. And you can't.
I think
he just winds up going up and
said.
talking. You know who does that is Bill Burr. Bill Burr, and who I like.
He's fantastic.
But he has this talent that he goes up and he just can talk. And he's funny, and he just comes up with stuff, and he just
improv.
And granted, I guarantee a lot of that's practiced and rehearsed.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I mean, you have to get your reps in.
But he's just. I think he's just like one of those gifted guys that's just naturally.
I think some
funny.
people are naturally inclined. Like I think that we're funny, but I don't know if we're that level to just be able to.
See how many people watch this podcast.
Well, yeah, when we break the internet, my head's going to get bigger than Joe Rogan. Yeah, dude. Some dude like Adam Carolla you can just give him any topic and he'll just go off, and like improvise and make it funny. Like it's a gift. I'm sure they do work hard though. They do practice.
Oh well, you hear some of these guys and how they go into clubs late at night to try out their material, stuff like that. It's impressive. It's just I don't know.
But then we have the people we think aren't impressive
funny.
That are making a lot of money, and it's like you start to resent them. Like you don't deserve that. Like I go back and forth on Kim Kardashian a lot, and it's like I think their thing is they have no discernible talent. Their talent is they figured out a way to make a lot of money
with no discernible talent,
without doing anything. Of course, there is the caveat. And I was going to make a joke about your Ordinary Marathoner. If you really want to break the internet with Ordinary Marathoner, make a sex tape with one of the Kardashians. Your name would be...
Stephanie might get mad at me.
I want to talk about this. Okay, here's the thing. Most of us, I think, enjoy and crave our anonymity. We like being able to live anonymous on the down low life.
Well, I think we also don't appreciate, teenagers, millions of fawning teenagers throwing stuff, like getting all
look, you're like
cheering at you or whatever.
Your ego has to be big enough that you want to be known by everyone.
Yeah.
Like, do you want that? Would you want Ordinary Marathon? Like, if you did make a sex tape with Kanye West, and then you were plastered tomorrow on TMZ and every app and every search engine, Scott Ricky came up. Do you want that?
No.
Right, because the reward is like millions of dollars and you're set for life, but then everyone knows you.
Kanye, you want my number?
Or, it could be Courtney or Kim or Kylie or Kendall.
I know what you're saying. The point.
Most of us just want to be able to hide.
Right.
And I go out to dinner on Friday and not be bothered.
Well, I mean, let me ask you this. If I threw $50 million at you today,
right.
And then every time you went out to a restaurant, you got hassled and whatever. Anytime you showed up in public, you can't go for a run down your street, or you can't go to the gym because too many people. Would you?
I think I'm such an a-hole. I'll take that.
I'll take the money.
Yeah, I'll take the money. I'll take the money. Maybe I'd be, one of the guys I always think of, and this is going to go over the heads of a lot of. We'll have to say who he is. Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
We know who he is, but the marathoners and the non-marathoners. He was a quarterback at Vanderbilt, and then he got drafted by, I don't know, he ended up on the Bears.
Denver, he went up on the
Bears, yeah. So he's notorious for like being an a-hole to anyone that tries to approach him. So one of the funny stories I heard is he was at a urinal. Obviously, this is an odd venue to approach someone, but one of his fans tried to approach him at the other urinal. I was like, hey, Jay, I'm not going to be able to get this in. the guy goes to him, "Hey Jay, I just want to, let you know I'm a big fan." And he goes, "Don't care."
Zip.
So he's whizzing away and he just goes, "Don't care." So I think he's just like, people don't even approach him anymore because he's such an obnoxious a-hole to them. Like, you're not going to get an autograph. You're not going to get an acknowledgement.
You know what? I'll tell you what I despise about that story and about his attitude in particular is he came from Vanderbilt, not exactly your football powerhouse.
Right.
I
guess it's an academic powerhouse.
Had talent.
Is it an academic powerhouse?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's just, he had talent.
It's a prestigious Southern school.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I remember they did
I can't get into Vanderbilt, or I couldn't have
I don't know.
into.
I don't know how it is
I never
in terms
applied.
of academics. I really don't.
They're in Tennessee. Tennessee. No, I don't want to go off the rails with my. Okay, no.
We've done it 100 times.
They would understand that.
That's right. You know what? Joe Rogan and Alex Jones talked about like fifth dimension aliens if you do drugs.
See, I think that we're better than them.
Yeah, we are.
I'm not being serious. I'm kind of tongue in cheek, but kind of serious. No, go back to your problem with Jay Cutler.
My problem is he came from like a nowhere school. He should have embraced it a little bit more. And I feel like I don't know. And you can never judge work habits. And I learned my lesson on that one. And it's another whole story. But
I feel like he was lazy. I can't prove it.
It feels like he was lazy.
It feels like he didn't give a SHIT about anything.
And I remember him, and I think he was a game when he was with Chicago. And I remember watching him play. It was one of these games where Chicago, for whatever reason, was on TV locally. And it was towards the end of the game, and he threw a touchdown pass to go ahead.
Right.
And the other team got the ball back with like 2 minutes left, and they went down the field and they scored to tie.
Mm-hmm.
And the look on his face, like, oh, I got to go back out there again. Like, didn't I already win this thing? It was like, it's not the look like Tom Brady doesn't do that.
Says it all. Right.
Like Tom Brady's face is like, oh, got to get my helmet. Let's go back out.
I cannot wait to get back out here and rectify the situation. That is not going to happen. We are not
like
losing.
The look on his face was like, look, I already won this game. What the hell? Why do I got to go back out?
He's already thinking about where he's going with Kim Cavallari.
Yeah, right.
Chris, I don't know
whatever her name is.
Cavallari, Kristen Cavallari.
Yeah. And so that bothered me about him. What else?
I think he cared more about his wavy, floppy hair than he did. That's the problem a lot when you give the guy guaranteed money, right? Like the bonus is guaranteed.
Yeah, money's in the bank.
And he's just like,
who cares? Who cares?
It's like, dude, you're it's your job, it's your profession, your
Take
legacy.
A little pride.
Like, yeah, like
little pride.
You're blessed enough with this rocket arm that you could even be in this position you're in to be a starter.
And the thing is,
like I know you. I almost called you Jay. Scott, if you were in that position, you would have worked your ass off, even being multi-talented. If you had Jay Cutler's arm and size and talent, you still would have worked your ass off and been
a little humility,
and understood the privilege of being there.
Right.
Yeah, and also want to make your mark. I mean, I don't want to talk about you as much as him, but like you would have been like, okay, I want this record, that record, this record, that record. I want to win this Super Bowl, and then you get a guy like him. He's like,
whatever.
Whatever. It's like, no, not whatever, dude. God gave you this gift, dude. You got a rocket arm. Use it. But that's the thing. You can't. I remember Bill Parcells said, I can't do anything with a player who doesn't want it, doesn't want to win. He's like, I can work with this, I can work with that, but I can't work with someone that doesn't want to get better.
Maybe there's something to that. Like, people, I always felt like that was something with the Patriots, why they're successful, is like they identify players who, for A, who are undervalued, but B, they get the culture right somehow.
Because of Belichick.
Somehow.
If you're not fitting within that culture, you're gone.
Well, yeah, and that's, I mean, you look at it, they got rid of, who was that wide receiver? Brandon Cooks?
Anyone who's
guy's talented as hell. I mean, and I don't even know Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
But super talented, and they're like, yeah, all right, let him go.
If they
so here's my story. We were talking about guys who work hard, like Cutler. Mm-hmm. And I learned my lesson about saying whether or not
don't
they work hard.
hard.
Right. So I was down with Keith, our friend Keith, in Florida State.
Yep.
And I was talking to a guy, and he's telling me a story about how he walked on to Florida State football team.
Right.
Which is hard to do.
You were talking to that guy, or he was
talking to the guy? I was talking to the guy who walked on. He played corner, and he's telling me a story. He's like, "Yeah, I showed up."
Not an easy position to walk onto.
No. He's like, "I showed up at school." He goes, "I played two positions in high school, corner and quarterback." And the coach is like, "All right, go quarterback's over here, whatever. So he's like, I started going with the quarterbacks, and I got online in the drills. And the first few guys, and I honestly don't remember the names, but I'll give you, like the first guy might have been like Chris Wenke or Charlie Ward or whatever it was back then. Whoever it was.
Who was it? Ponder? What was his name? Not Sam.
Christian Ponder.
That's the wife.
Yeah, Christian Ponder. But Ponder was definitely after these guys. So he's like, I realized.
Sam Ponder deserves a whole separate podcast. But
let's not go. So anyway, he's like, I realized that I am not in their league before I even throw one rep. Right. He's watching. He's like, and he goes to the coach. He goes, "Wait, is this the quarterbacks?" Because I said corner. So he goes over to the cornerbacks. He winds up making the team. He plays for a few years or whatever. But his comment to me was, the one thing that you don't know about Deion Sanders, who came off as a guy who was naturally gifted.
Right, like just rolled out of bed.
And he was running a 4.2 40 and
literally almost like Wesley Snipes in Major League, where he did roll out of bed because they moved his bed out of the facility out to the practice field, and he did a 340 in his pajamas. I'm sorry, bad digression. But 1989 Major League, check it out.
He said that Deion Sanders was the hardest working guy by far on that team. That he would go into the gym and Deion Sanders was there, and he would leave and Deion Sanders was still there.
I would have never guessed that. Never.
Right. I agree. And we said at the same exact time. But listen, dude, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I feel like we might have lost you guys. Maybe I don't know. Maybe not.
I got a lot of.
Do we know how much total time recording? Should we say it on the air?
I have no idea.
Well, they'll
Probably
find
about
out.
An hour and a half.
Hold on. Well, let's tie a bow on this.
All right.
Let's tie a bow on this. I wrote bullet points. I think I hit all of them. You have to eat to get big. How did I get bigger? How did it make me feel? Confidence.
We've had a long day here in this.
Tie it into your to Scott's marathoning and how it makes him feel. I like resistance training. It's my sport. It makes me feel alive. I jam to music and get in the zone. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
So the moral of the story is, man, you can always improve. You can always make yourself better. Just practice and yeah. So I want to come back on Ordinary Marathoner. I want to break the views record. I hope I do. No offense to anyone that was previously on.
And you're not competitive.
I'm pretty arrogant about that. So, but who's that girl? Melinda? Did she have the record? Who's got the record? Most views.
Melissa. I think you're talking about. Melissa had
someone
a lot.
Has someone has to have the record.
I gotta say, as much
probably someone with a real genuine story of like.
I know
cancer
who I know the record
sickness,
and I'm not even gonna say, but it's not that. It's not that. I won't say it.
Anyone that has anyone that has a real story, awesome. This was mine. It's a little shallow, but all right.
But it was fun to tell it.
We reserved the golf simulator. Are we gonna get to that, or do we go straight to the bar?
Man. We got to put all this stuff away and get out of here.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna head out.
All right, guys. It's been a pleasure. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time to interview me.
Always remember, I'm no expert. I'm just ordinary. I got to get my tagline in. I'm no expert. I'm just ordinary.
Remember to like our video and subscribe to our channel.